People didn't get too excited though because the pace lights were set for 7:23, which would break the European record of 7:24.68, but was honestly a far cry from Daniel Coleman's 7:20.67 that hadn't been beaten for over 2 decades now. But when the last 600 approached, everyone quickly realized the European record was not going to happen at all, but would run such a historical mark that calling it a world record would almost be an unsatisfactory title at this point.
0.67 is going to be smashed here by the Norwegian. It's a world record yet again for Jakob Ingebrigtsen. He's just double-checking that time. He's broken it by over 3 seconds.
There is no other way to say this, but this is probably the greatest distance running record of all time. Not because of how old the record is, or even because of Coleman's phenomenal 7:20.67 being surpassed. To break it by 3 entire seconds is such a hilariously massive skill gap that it surpasses the old mark by 21 points on the IAAF point system and is now ranked as the second highest distance running mark across every discipline up to the marathon, as Kiptum's 2 flat 35 ranks as the current highest just above at 1322 points. If you're unfamiliar with this point system, to simplify, these are around the marks they are roughly equivalent to from a raw performance standpoint. Now, whether you want to debate which one is better when you factor in all sorts of things isn't exactly that relevant here, but this single time has fully convinced me that there is a legitimate chance this Norwegian guy could truly break every record from the 1500 up to the marathon. I mean, even someone like Bernard Lagat gave him the go as basically dethroning the crown jewel of distance running records. If you're not going to believe a former 326 guy, I don't know. I don't know what other confirmation you need at this point. Now, the thing is, because we have this one-of-a-kind performance at our disposal to work with, I think we can effectively predict within reasonable grounds how likely it is that Jakob could break the remaining 7 world records he desires to surpass. I should clarify that we're simply entertaining him breaking all the records in general, not that he would hold all of them simultaneously too. I think we'd be getting a little off the rails in that case. Let's start off with the shortest discipline, and then work our way up to the longer ones.
Oh man.
They race to the finish line. Hickam Alvarez is going to hang on. He's got a world record.
As it currently stands, both the metric and imperial mile records have yet to be broken, as Morocco's Hicham El Garouge remains the king in both of them. This forces Jakob to not only break the record in the 15, but would also have to replicate this level of proficiency twice to do it in the mile as well. A race that is held much less often at prestigious meets, but is technically a bit softer to break, as Jakob's current 1500 personal best converts to a 3:43.27. Given how metronomic and aerobically dominant of a runner he is compared to other milers though, I would say that his true potential lies somewhere between the raw pace equivalent and the actual conversion, but I could be totally off on that.
Running
I don't know. Maybe it's not.
3 man.
Maybe it's not worth speculating.
I don't trend.
Jakob is also still pretty young, but age is a limiting factor historically when we look at the top 10 times in the 15 and the mile, as ages 25 or 26 seems to be the most consistent age when it comes to peak performance in this event. He's got a few more years, but it's much less time than you may think. This may come off as a bit superficial, but the biggest thing that makes me believe Jakob will likely break one or both of these records is his extraordinarily calculated approach to breaking this specific record in the first place. He has yet to go into a race expecting a world record to happen, and seems to understand the progression curve very scientifically, as a few tenths of a second here and there is more than satisfactory of an improvement rate, even if these personal bests come once a year. Outside of his somewhat campy 2022 season, the data shows that he is continually improving in the event and has yet to reach the traditional peak age for it as well. So if history repeats itself, the curve keeps moving slowly but surely, and Jakob stays healthy, I would throw up a nice 8 out of 10 difficulty overall for Jakob breaking the mile or 1500 record, and probably like an 8.5 to breaking both of them.
Makes it a trifecta in Paris by more than a second.
Next, we have the 3,000 meter steeplechase record. The data on Jakob's recent steeplechase endeavors says, well, nothing in the last 5 years. However, if you followed him as an athlete for long enough, you would know that he was a monster in the event as a teenager, embarrassing junior fields and setting the 16-year-old world record that not many people know is also the 17-year-old world record as well. Given his recent performance in the flat 3000 and the fact that he has such a promising background over the barriers, I actually feel like this one might be the easiest for Mr. Ingebrigtsen to beat. Not to mention his open 3000 world record is the equivalent of a 7:46.97 steeple, which even if we're overestimating this conversion, it gives him plenty of room for error even if he's a bit rusty going over the water. 5 out of 10.
with the heart of an African lion. He's delivered. It's a world record.
I'm going to group the 5,000 and 10,000 into one nice little category. Jakub is currently the greatest 5,000 meter runner out there right now, and has been for the last 3 years. The guy barely races it formally, but when he does, very rarely is he pushed to the brink, and has not lost since 2021. And the reason the Olympics show that all of these 1240 guys can't even come close to him. His aerobic heavy training style realistically makes him a 5,000 plus guy to begin with, so I wouldn't be surprised if it translates over to the 10,000 seamlessly if you threw him into a pristinely paced race. The last time he really put down a fast time in the 5,000 was back in 2021, where he ran 12:48 in Rome for the European record, but he is substantially more fit since then, and the race was paced pretty poorly as well. I'm going to be honest, the 5,000 will probably also be easy for him to break, and I'd imagine the 10,000 would only take him a couple serious tries before he nabbed that too. We'll say 5.5 out of 10 for the 5,000 and 6.5 for the 10,000, especially since the latter is a bit tougher in general.
By Kelvin Kiptop for a new world record at the Bank of America Chicago Marathon.
Now, I know what you're thinking. We're at this point where entertaining the half or full marathon records are beyond speculation, and I'm just wasting my breath talking about these until we actually see him lace up on the roads. While I agree to an extent, at least let me try to make a promising case for the half marathon one to go down a lot sooner than you may think. Let's be honest, the half marathon, statistically speaking, and really logically speaking, is the softest distance record out there right now. First off, the current world record holder is occupied by someone who ran an entire track season the year before, and only really dabbles in road races, and these top 2 marks done in 2023 are done by track-dominant runners who have a very similar skill set to Jakub. Almost all of the road specialists primarily take up the marathon all-time list, but in the half, it's not uncommon for track guys to just show up to road races here and there, and are just able to destroy half marathons if the course and conditions are satisfactory. To further my point on the half record just not being that super strong comparatively speaking, 57.31 is a 12.88 on the IAA point scale, and Jakub has run above that level of quality in a few of his races now. Am I trusting the IAA point scale a little too much here? I mean, I guess, but given the nature of how a lot of these track guys just casually occupy some of the fastest times in this event, a good chunk of who Jakub has decimated in the 5,000, I honestly wouldn't be that surprised if he broke 57 on his first try here. I'm just going to say it. My hot take is that this will be a 4 out of 10 difficulty for him. It genuinely might be easier to break in the steeple or 5K.
I just got fucked.
Now for the marathon. The one most of you are probably the most curious about, and, well, I got nothing.
I got absolutely fucked by the
That's not
boss.
entirely true. The marathon record is arguably the hardest world record to beat at the moment, not because of the sheer beauty